Hello, students. I'm Professor McDermott, and I'm delighted to welcome you to History 1112, Survey of World History 2, covering world history from 1500 to the present. And this is your video introduction to Module 1, in which we're going to focus on the Age of Exploration. That is the period in the late 15th and early 16th century when Europeans discovered America. In fact, of course, there were already a large number of people in America who had discovered it long before. And so the history of this age of exploration is in large part the history of interactions between Europeans and Native Americans, or American Indians. First of all, I just want to say, if you haven't already done so, please read the syllabus carefully and read the order of assignments carefully. You'll find both of these documents in the Start Here folder. That will help you a great deal. Normally in these video introductions to each module, I will be recapping the discussions that you had in the previous module, but since we're just starting out the course, I'm going to focus today on the way that we're going to do these discussion boards, because I think it's going to be somewhat unusual for you, perhaps, and very different even from other online courses you've taken. But don't worry, you will get the hang of it, and I think you will even enjoy it. So let's talk about the procedure first. Well, you have two sets of discussions this module. The first one is just a self-introduction exercise so that you can get to know the other members of your group. Every student has been assigned to either Group 1, Group 2, or Group 3. I sent you an email about this. If you haven't seen it already, please check your D2L email. That self-introduction will simply involve you posting a little bit of information about yourself and then responding to other people's posts. The other discussion questions we have focus on the document that each group has about the Age of Exploration. And the procedure is a little more complex there. And it's this procedure we're going to be following for the rest of the course, so pay close attention. First, you want to read your document in your groups folder, readings and discussions for Group 1, Group 2, or Group 3. Next, there are 3 discussion questions on your document this time. So for each of the 3 questions that are posted, you can get to those, by the way, either through course content or by clicking the discussions link at the top of our D2L homepage. For each of those questions, you're going to start a new thread and make a post with your individual answer to each of those 3 questions relating to your document. Only after you've made your initial post will you be able to see other people's posts. So read other people's posts, and then I want everybody to jump on the thread I've provided called Focus. The focus thread is where the actual discussions will take place. And I do this because it's easier to keep track of one thread than to reply to other people's posts so that everybody has to watch 10 or 11 or 12 threads at once. So what we're going to move to the focus thread to actually carry on our discussion. So on the focus thread, the goal is to come up with an answer through group discussion to the question that you can all agree on. So you'll want to comment on other people's posts, agreeing or disagreeing with things that they've said. And please don't be afraid to disagree. I know you're all very polite, very courteous people. And sometimes students are so polite that they're really reluctant to ever disagree with anyone else because they'll think people will call them a jerk. But really, don't be afraid to disagree and even mix it up a little bit, as long as it's done in a polite and respectful way, because that's how we'll get to the truth. That's how we'll get to the answers to these questions. Also, for each module, there's going to be a chair appointed for each set of for the questions in each module. And on the email I sent out, I have appointed the chairs for this time. For Group 1, it will be Nicholas Bivens. For Group 2, Mary Kathleen Jones. And for Group 3, Stephanie Russell. And lest you think I'm picking on you, I did that strictly based on alphabetical order. The job of the chair is to keep the discussion on the focus thread moving forward. And after enough discussion has taken place, the chair should suggest some language for a common group answer that everyone can agree on. And chairs, always, I want you to be sure to incorporate everyone's insights, not just your own, in formulating this answer. And then other people will get a chance to comment on that, say whether they agree or disagree or want to tweak it a little bit. But once everybody's agreed on the language for the answer, then chairs, it's your responsibility to post the answer on the answer thread, which I've also provided. And I know that this sounds complicated, but believe it or not, you will get the hang of it. So just bear with me on this. Another note, if you want to receive full credit, that is 25 points for each discussion question, you must make your initial post by the 5th day of each module. For this module, that will mean posting before Friday at 11:59 p.m. If you don't do that, the highest grade you can make is 15 points out of 25. This is so that we can get the discussions going early enough that we really have time to go deep into these issues and to hear everyone's viewpoints. Sorry, just checking to make sure I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Well, at this point, you may be asking yourself, Dr. McDermott, why are you doing this to us? Why are you imposing this crazy procedure on us? And there are a few reasons I do want to explain why. First of all, when I started teaching online, I was actually a little skeptical about the whole procedure. But I realized there is one real advantage to online classes, and that is you do have a lot of time for people to read documents and to really think about them deeply and to discuss them in depth, which is a luxury that you really don't have in a face-to-face class. You know, if we were in a face-to-face class, I might fire a question at you, and on the spot, you would have to come up with an answer. And it's very hard to do that in a split second. But here we have the luxury of having 11 or 12 days to come up with really good, thoughtful answers to these questions through discussion. Secondly, if you ever had my face-to-face class, as some of you have, you know that for me, the discussions are the heart and soul of the class. To me, reading a document, a source document that was written at the time we're studying by people who actually lived through the events we're studying, is far more interesting than reading a textbook that was written hundreds of years later, and which usually is very dull. And even though my students have sometimes found these documents difficult to read, because they are sometimes written in old-fashioned language, usually by the end of the course, students tell me that they found the documents to be a really rich experience, because reading these people's thoughts and their opinions, the people that we're actually studying, helps us to understand who they were as people. It helps us to connect with them on a deep level. It helps us to understand really what made them tick and how their insights relate to our own lives as well. So I think that you will come to enjoy this. As I said, the documents are sometimes difficult, so please don't hesitate to ask me or other group members for help in understanding a certain passage. I've also posted a link to a dictionary on our D2L homepage that I encourage you to make use of if there are any words that are difficult for you, as there are often for me in these old documents. Finally, I do the course this way because I firmly believe that the way to truth is through discussion and dialogue. not through the opinions of a textbook writer or even my opinions, because I've actually learned a lot from discussion with students and getting your insights. And so I really want you to be active participants in this course, sharing in the process of pursuing the truth of history through these documents. Finally, I just want to say, please do not hesitate to contact me for any reason. If you have a question, if something is unclear, if you need help, I am available to help you, and you'll find my contact information at the top of the syllabus. Welcome aboard, and I look forward greatly to working with you in this course.